Hi Kashani, thank you for taking the time to join me today.
Thank you for having me.
COVID-19 has become one of the greatest workplace transformations of our lifetime. We also understand that people are quite an important part of a business and human capital is quite the priority. And a lot of what we're seeing across social media is a major shift in the change in the role of HR. As head of HR at Blake, how has the role of HR shifted in business since COVID-19?
Keshika, from the beginning, even prior to COVID-19, people will always matter in our business, and people matter is one of our greatest values in the business. And from an HR perspective, that's the foundation upon which we build. Each and every individual in our business on all levels, from senior to junior levels, every single level, people matter. Every one of our people have always been shifting through changes, even prior to COVID-19. But COVID-19 has taught us some experiences that we've seen that no one has ever been through before. I can say that as an individual, as a human being, and every single person in our business is a human being. They have emotions, they have feelings, they have experiences that shape how they function. And what we've seen in this time is that COVID-19 has shaped our individuals around the experiences that they had to adapt to, but it's also revealed a segment of their character. So it's shown us who we have in our business. It's shown us the DNA of our people. It's shown us what we have to even build from this and move forward. Yes, there's been lots of challenges, but in those challenges, it's only revealed that we have a team of people who have high endurance levels, high resilience, ability to adapt and shift. And prior to COVID-19, we were on a journey to become more agile in terms of digital transformation. And now all it's shown us is that we were able to make that shift a lot sooner. And the people we have the ability and innate qualities to actually enable that shift. So from an HR perspective, all HR does is partner to enable this. And that's how we are doing it. We're actually doing it on the fly at the moment. It's actually every day is very fluid, every day is ever changing, but it's given us the opportunity to do things quicker, but do things smarter because we're learning as we're going and we're doing it in real time. So yeah, from an HR perspective, definitely made HR more agile, but definitely given HR more insight as to what's in the business and how we can influence business strategy going forward. COVID-19 taught us and pushed us into actually adapting a lot quicker. It's revealed to us what we have in our workforce. So we know the level of people, the character of people, the DNA that exists that helps us to be able to move forward and build towards a better business. And it's shown us that we can, amidst all of the challenges, become better through every experience. And that's what we've done with our people. And from an HR perspective, HR are the enablers. We're the business partners that help enable this for our people from a training and development perspective, from an influencing IR perspective. So how do we put the right mechanisms, the right structures into place to make sure that we can support the people in terms of how they need to work in this new world going forward?
You touch on HR becoming quite an agile role, and we understand that remote work is becoming quite a norm. What role does HR play in managing a dispersed workforce?
Well, one of the key learnings we learned during the shutdown period was that most people like to know. They want to be heard, they want to have knowledge, and knowledge, like we say, knowledge is power. So we've empowered our people. We've empowered our work from home people by training them remotely, by giving them information, by communicating with them so that they are aware of what's going on every step of the way. And that change from an HR perspective, we put in policies, procedures, methods, because the one thing we've learned about anyone, including ourselves, is that we want to know how to do it. And once we know how to do it, we're comfortable. So those are the basics you have to learn about the human element, which is what from an HR perspective we understood. And we translated that into processes. We translated that into policies. We translated that into guidance. So that's exactly how we're helping people who are working from home as well. With our digital support, with our training and development, there's a whole lot of virtual training happening whenever there's an update. So people do not feel like they are out there and they're left on their own. The most critical thing that the business has provided in this time is the support. And and we'll continue to do that. And actually, we've learned how to do that remotely, which is something that is a plus, because that's something that's going to support our business strategy going forward.
So you would actually agree that communication is quite an essential part of the HR role right now, and ensuring that people feel the support and are comfortable and understand that the business is supporting them through this difficult time. What kind of an impact do you think it has on the mindsets of the people of Blake? What kind of support are we providing for them in that sense?
Well, personally, I know the impact it's having on our staff, because from a communication perspective, from inception, we've been frequent with our communication, we've been consistent with our messages, we've been consistent with our updates. And personally, I've given out my personal number, which gives them that comfort to know that they're going to get the answers that they need. It's not going to go through to something or a channel that they're not going to get, the turnaround they expect or anything to that effect. But they actually feel comfortable knowing that they matter so much that they can actually contact a person, the head of HR, personally. And for our people, and we show them that that's how much they matter, that we actually care enough to take time, even amidst everything we're going through, but we take that time to address their query, and no query is too small. So our staff feel comforted at that, and we've learned that we need to keep at it, because that's what makes not only our staff, but people in general. People want to know that they matter, that they belong. And when they belong to an organization, that organization cares enough to actually communicate with them and to actually give them attention. And that's what we do.
Now, we understand that there's a lot of shifts happening in the marketplace right now, and recruitment and retention is quite an important and integral part of the HR role. How do you think COVID-19 has impacted that in the sense of retention and talent acquisition?
Well, for starters, it's changed the profile of people that we would be recruiting even in the future and even currently, because obviously it takes a different segment of people, it takes a different character of person to work from home. That wasn't the Blake model before, because we were so used to the conventional method of interviewing for what we knew works in a structured workforce with, to a level, micromanagement in a contact center. But now it's all evolved. Now we have to make sure that we take our learnings from what we see with our staff who work from home. What are their propensities to work in such an environment? How do we adapt the profile? How do we take those individuals now and start to assess virtually? Because all our interviewing now is also done virtually. We are able to, actually attract people, train people before they even meeting them physically. We are actually able to train them and equip them, and they're working from home. So now that's changed our entire methodology, our entire recruitment practice. But it's actually, like I said, it's given us a case study to refer to that can allow us to be successful in the days ahead in terms of how we recruit for our workforce and what will enable the business strategy once again to move forward.
With dispersed workforces comes many challenges. How do we mitigate these?
One of the key challenges we've had, once again, going back to what we said at the beginning, was people change all the time. And some people don't take to change. I mean, we know this for years. It doesn't have to take COVID to teach us that. Everybody knows that some people have challenges with changing, and one of it is our existing workforce who were working from home. So we experienced a few challenges, because some people do prefer the structured environment. Some people do prefer sitting with a manager or with a supervisor or team leader and being managed and being directed. So having to work on their own, manage their time on their own, manage the responsibility and accountability which comes with handling of the equipment on their own and all of that. Those are the challenges, but those are challenges that are not challenges that we can't work on or that we can't fix, which is why we're working on how do we enable those people with soft skills. Training and development plays a critical role in this time, because you're teaching people new practices, you're embedding new ways of doing things. Behavior comes into effect when somebody practices something consistently for a considerable amount of time, and that's exactly what we're doing. We're helping our people change the way they do things, learn new behaviors so that they can cope with what's happening now. And those are the major challenges we face at this point in time, is apart from all of the other business challenges. But from a people perspective, it's about people who work from home and how do they manage working from home in a different environment.
I'm pretty certain as well that when it comes to people, it's very difficult to actually anticipate a person's behavior when they're not based in the office. So just to touch a bit on the culture aspect, which does somewhat fall under HR, do we anticipate any shifts in the way our culture moves forward versus the way it was when we were all together as a single unit under the same roof? Obviously, there's going to be some changes in that space. How do we cater for those sorts of changes in that arena?
Well, there's going to be a huge shift in culture. I mean, everything. I mean, if we know it as we sit here, everything's changed in our culture. So how much more from a working point of view, how much more from a workforce, an individual who's expected to work with a diverse working team? Because now you've got teams working virtually and you've got teams working some on site, and then you've got all of the resources dispersed, and you want to actually, how do you connect with your colleagues? How do you build teams? You know, back in the day, team building was a big thing. Now, how do you still build teams? Because you're going to be building teams because we still have to collaborate because we work in a business. So it's about that shift in how do we enable that? How do we get each individual? And we'll be dealing with it on a case-by-case basis, taking learnings and improvising as we go. But that will be our talent strategy and our culture strategy going forward.
I would imagine that technology is going to play quite an important role in enabling a lot of these practices for HR, especially when it comes to building a new sense of culture, virtual training, recruitment strategies, and just building this entirely new world together.
With the technology we have at the moment, it's definitely enabled that, and we can only see that improving going forward in terms of new processes that fit into certain platforms that would enable what we're trying to achieve. As I said, recruitment, we're able to still do it through MS Teams, we're able to still do it telephonically, virtually, video calls where there's opportunities. From a training perspective, we've always been set up on the e-learning digital platform. That's just being enhanced now. That's just being improvised in terms of how do we take it now and face it externally.
What do you anticipate will be some of the changes moving forward? We understand that this is a shifting landscape. None of us really have a crystal ball to actually know what exactly is going to happen and what's to come. But what are some of the trends you've picked up thus far, and what do you anticipate could be some of those changes in the workforce moving forward?
Well, we've already touched on communication. I would say it's, once again, I'm going to go back to empowerment. How do we empower our people with the right training and development, with the right knowledge in terms of how to function in this new way of working, in this new working world? And that's the changes that we see coming through more evidently, because once we get that right, everything else, you know, systems and processes and all of that don't matter. It's the people who matter, who make those systems work, who function using those processes. So those are the things that I see coming in terms of people wanting to have that level of empowerment, having that, making that shift in terms of mindset shifts. How do we help people emotionally? And emotionally, it's understanding who we are again, and not just in terms of what we knew about you back in the day before all of this, who you are today. How is this now going to help you, and how can we as a company help you adapt to move forward? Because you as a person matter, and if you as a person, we can understand that level of intricacy in terms of how do we get you in your role to adapt, and how do we help you with that level of empowerment. That's where the shift comes into place. And that's from an HR perspective, for me, it's about getting the different groups and levels of people in the organization into that shift. And that's the major changes that we're going to experience in the days ahead.
What advice do you have for any other businesses out there when it comes to your role as HR?
Listen. It's very simple. Listen, because if you listen, and you listen not only with your ear, but you listen with your heart, and take away the technicality of it. Strip away and become human and relate to your people as human beings first, and then add everything else. That's the advice that will helps us as an organization, helps me in HR, and I know will help other organizations if they had to listen, take learnings, take experiences, evolve from it, evolve with it, and make the necessary changes to move forward.
Thank you so much for your time, Kashani.
You're
It was
welcome.
really wonderful chatting with you today.
Thank you, Keshika.